And then she told me that I had to wear wrinkled clothes for an entire week. Oh, you haven't heard this story? Well, I'm going to tell you about it right now on A Spiritual Remedy.
It's a spiritual remedy, a deep internal peace from the bondage of the self. I have found my sweet release. It affirms the life I'm living. It's the truth within my soul.
Hey, beloveds, it's me, Sunshine Daye. Thank you so much for coming back. Every week, we spend a few minutes spiritually recalibrating, not by looking outside of ourselves, but by awakening to that indwelling presence that is already living as us. And today, we're going to talk about something I know about too well, and I'm not proud to say that. And that is control, or shall I say, it's the illusion of control. What I notice is that I've spent more energy in my life trying to control the outcomes. And I really don't want to admit that to you, but it is the truth. So let me finish the story or tell you about the story. Early in my sobriety, I lived at the Alcoholism Center for Women. Shout out to them. And every morning I got up, I showered, and I ironed my clothes until the crease on my pants were perfect, even on my jeans. And you would have thought that I was headed to an executive board meeting. The truth, I was walking next door. That's it. From the recovery house to the recovery school. And the women that I lived with, they watched me every morning and they never said a word. And finally, one of the counselors sat me down and lovingly asked me, "Who are you dressing up for?" And I didn't have an answer, but she did. And so what she told me was that for an entire week, I had to wear wrinkled clothing. Well, she asked me if I was willing to do that, which I thought, wow, consent is everything. And that I had to pick out my outfits from the donation pile upstairs in the attic. We lovingly call that place Saks Fifth Attic. Now, let me tell you, that felt harder than giving up alcohol. It really did. And I'm not sure why, but what I had already learned was that willingness was the doorway to my freedom. And if this was part of my recovery, I was willing to do it. By the end of that week, something beautiful happened. I realized that I was spending so much time and energy trying to look good that I wasn't paying enough attention to just revealing the good and the great that was already inside of me. The clothes wasn't the issue, the control was. See, I believed that I could manage what people thought about me if I looked a certain way. But here's what recovery taught me. Control is an illusion. I never really had control. I only thought I did. It's just like, years later, I prayed for a new job and I prayed with all my heart because I used to do like this. I used to get on my knees and pray. And then I said amen and immediately grabbed the newspaper and looked into the want ads. Now, what's funny about that is that there's nothing wrong with taking action. But there is a difference. And sometimes, and in the beginning for me, it's this subtle difference between being guided and then trying to force an outcome. And I was trying to force an outcome. And sometimes I just wasn't allowing myself to follow the guidance. I was interrupting it, interfering with it, manipulating it. Have you ever done that? Probably not, right? Have you prayed and then immediately began telling spirit and infinite intelligence exactly how to answer your prayers and what you wanted it to look like, Mr. Right, Mrs. Right, the right car, the right job, the right home? I've done that more than I can count. So here's today's spiritual remedy. Stop interfering with the good that is already within you and the good that is already finding its way to you. Stop it. Now, that doesn't mean that you just, sit around wasting your life and waiting for it to happen. What I mean by that is listen and become available. And Michael Beckwith calls it listening with the inner ear. Listening with an inner ear. So it means asking, what must I be before asking, what should I do? Because we are human beings, not human doings. What must I be before I ask, what should I do? One time I received a notice from my electric company and it was about to be shut off. My electricity was about to be shut off. And I started worrying and panicking. I was trying to borrow money and I made phone call after phone call and I worried and nothing was working out. Like I didn't get it. And so the next day I called the electric company one more time, just expecting the bad news. And instead, what I got was someone so loving and so tender and so caring on the other end, who was so apologetic, who told me, "Oh, I'm so sorry. We discovered that we had applied the credit, your payment to another account, and that problem has been fixed. As a matter of fact, it was never a problem that I owed anything in the first place. And here I was spending so much energy trying to control things and trying to solve something that wasn't even mine to solve." And recovery has taught me that when I stop trying to rearrange life and instead simply ask, what am I to be? And what is mine to be? And what is mine to live into? That I make room for what I call frost. And you've heard me say this, and if you haven't, FROST. It's not time to chill, it's time to frost. It's time to fully rely on Spirit's timing. And maybe today, if you're trying to control a relationship or a job or a family member, or even your finances, or maybe you're just trying to control how other people see you. Beloved, what if your freedom isn't waiting on the other side of getting everything under control? What if your freedom is waiting on the other side of let go, let God? What I discovered is that my freedom is on the other side of let go, let God. So this week, I invite you to just notice. Notice one place where you're just gripping life so tightly, trying to control it, and instead just release and take a slow, deep breath. And instead of placing your hand on that wheel, trying to control things, place your hand on your heart and quietly ask, what would trust be right here? What would trust look like right now? And then listen with the inner ear. Don't listen with your fear. Listen with that presence that is right where you are. I'm so glad we spend these last few minutes together. And if today's spiritual remedy moved you forward on your recovery journey, share this message with someone who can use a little encouragement today. And if you're looking for more spiritual support, some guided meditations, and some resources for people like us in recovery, then visit vidaslc.org. Until the next time, be gentle with yourself. Listen with your inner ear. Trust more fully. And remember to frost. Fully rely on Spirit's timing. Bye for now.
Found a spiritual remedy and the joy is real. Just surrender to the power. Let it live as you everything you wanted finally come